Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I thought we would dive into the volunteer work I did as a undergraduate psychology student. Where the roles, what were they like, what were the benefits, and did they help me get into masters? So let's get into it. So straight off the bat, volunteering as an undergraduate psych student is incredibly important. You definitely need to seek out as many opportunities as you can in order to build your resume. Obviously university is great, but it is very theoretical based. You don't do placements, you don't get hands-on counselling experience until you're in 5th year, which is strange because it's like, that means you go through all of the 3-year degree and all of honours, not even 100% knowing, am I capable for this type of work? So what I did was, when I was in my 2nd year of my 3-year bachelor sequence, I actually deliberately set out to find some type of real-world experience that could confirm to me that being able to be within a counselling environment was something I was capable of. And I had concerns about, okay, so if someone tells me something really upsetting or, more of a negative nature, am I able to compartmentalize it? Will I be able to just leave it there, like talking to that person and move on with my day? So I thought it'd be terrific to actually get experience, and this way I knew for myself, like, yes, I want to keep studying psychology, I can become a psychologist. So I started volunteering with the Raise Foundation. Raise have a mentoring program set up in schools across Australia. The mentoring program is designed to provide a high school student with a space where they can build their confidence, self-esteem, and grow a healthy relationship with an adult that is separate to anybody in their family and friends. It creates like a safe space for them to feel like they can open up a little bit with an adult who comes to mentor them once a week throughout the year. So I became a mentor, and I remember going into it, I was so worried because I was like, oh my goodness, like what if I can't do this? What if it's awkward? What if I have nothing to say to my mentee? How is this going to go? And yeah, before my first session, I was really nervous. To me, it was like I put so much emphasis on the mentoring program because I was like, if I can't be a mentor, how can I be a psychologist? So, there was a lot of emotions going on there. I will just cut to the end and tell you that being a mentor with Raise is a terrific experience because Raise supports you a lot. They have a training program before you start mentoring at your chosen high school. And they teach you everything. They teach you how to, like how a session will work and what your boundaries are, what you can do, what you can't do. So the mentor program is very mentee-led, which means that you are there purely as a sounding board and a support cheerleader for your mentee every single week, who will probably, tell you what's going on, like what's been going on in their life and how they're feeling. Sometimes not even. Sometimes some high school students, all they want is just somebody to talk to on a real casual level. Maybe they're not comfortable talking to anybody else. So, they go very slow with you and you just have to try and build up their ability to be confident. So what the mentoring situation looks like for every mentor and mentee that is paired is very different. Some mentees might use the space to, really talk about serious things. Others might actually just want to play Uno. But the whole point is that for that hour every single week, you are there for them. And that's what's really amazing about it, is there's no pressure to be, like, oh my gosh, what do I do? How do I help them? You're not there for that. You're not there to provide your mentee with the answers to life's questions. You're not there to be like, oh no, you should be doing this. What Raise make very clear is that you were not, in fact, a psychologist or a counselor to them. You were not a teacher to them. You were simply just basically a friend. But what I loved about it was you get to use a lot of counseling techniques and get a lot of practice with them. So for example, things like reflecting content and feelings. If your mentee is telling you something, you might reflect it back to them in your own words so that they understand, like, oh, okay, like they're listening, and that's a way to get them to keep talking. Or, active listening. Active listening is something that a lot of people struggle with. Just showing that you're listening without trying to interject. And Raise is a really good way to get practice not trying to solve people's problems, because I think like in our friendship circles and our family circles, we are very quick to be like, oh, I know what you should do. Oh, I've got the solution. And as a psychologist, obviously you're not going to be there to fix, like wave a magic wand and fix all of your clients' problems. That's not what you're there for. You're there to like just be the person to help them come to their own conclusions and, you know, develop better coping strategies. And that does not entail you sitting there and like dictating to them what is right and what is wrong. So the RAISE program is really good because it gives you a chance on a very constant basis to sit there and just listen and just be like, oh, so, you know, it sounds like this is going on, and so how do you feel about that? And really like just practice not being concerned with, oh, I think they should do this, I think they should do that, because you're not there for that. So yeah, overall, I found the RAISE program really amazing on a weekly basis to practice counseling techniques. Another key part that you get a lot of good experience in with RAISE is setting boundaries and confidentiality. So like at the beginning of the program, you will discuss with your mentee confidentiality. And you know, the thing that if anybody is presented as being at risk, confidentiality, that's where it ends. And then you will have to, you know, escalate it by telling your program counselor, who will then work with the counselor from the school and whatnot. So, you know, this is something as psychologists that we'll have to get very comfortable doing. And it was really good to just see how that works in real life and get practice explaining that to somebody that you're talking to. And you'll also get really good practice at maintaining privacy. As a psychologist, we all know that we're going to need to seek help and advice from other working professionals, maybe about a particular client, but whilst maintaining that client's privacy and keeping to our confidentiality agreement. So within the RAISE program, what happens is after every single session, you and other mentors who are also doing placement at that particular school will all have a meeting with the program counselor and just discuss like what went right in the session, what went wrong, was there anything you felt unsure about. That's a space where you can seek advice maybe at how to improve your sessions, and you just learn like what you shouldn't share with the group, what you should share with the group. And if you share something with the group, you know, don't go like don't forfeit your mentee's privacy. So I think that was really invaluable experience, to be honest with you. And I think that's what's going to put you ahead of other students when it comes to masters, is just, you know, really having that one-on-one experience with somebody else where you are using counseling techniques, which is going to be the beginning of you learning how to become a psychologist. So overall, I found the RAISE program to be excessively helpful, and I would encourage anybody who is in Australia to look into it and see if you can get involved. It is very, very manageable alongside your study. It is only once a week for 2 hours. So I used to do mine every Friday in the morning, like get it out of the way in the morning. And then, you know, it's like, that's not really going to stop me from getting my work done or anything like that. And then hopefully, you know, you get a school that's actually near where you live, so it's really manageable. The other thing that I really liked about mentoring with RAISE is that studying can get really stressful, and I felt that it was really important to have something that constantly reminded me why I was doing what I was doing at university. And I loved mentoring at RAISE. Like, I always walked away from sessions feeling so energized and just really excited about seeing my mentee again the following week. I would be thinking about like, okay, like what can I do in order to make the sessions better? You know, it was just a really positive experience, and that would actually keep me going with uni. I would always be like, yeah, like it just kept my priorities in check. I knew what my vision was. My vision was I want to be a psychologist because this is the stuff I want to do. I want to work with people. I want to empower them. I want to give them a safe space to communicate. So I would really recommend that, because I think, you know, that probably helped my grades as well, because I was in the right mindset and I knew why I was doing what I wanted to do. So I never fell into that slump of being like, oh, like this is such a waste of time. You know, I never lost sight of my vision. The other thing is that I learned a lot about myself. So like I said, I was really worried about, would I be able to compartmentalize if a client or another individual ever told me something that was quite of a distressing nature. And through RAISE, I learned that I actually can. You know, I am able to empathize with an experience that somebody is telling me, even if I myself have not experienced it. And then I found that I was able to sort of like step into a role and definitely provide support for them, even if what they were discussing was of a, you know, very sensitive nature. So you're really learning as well how to navigate sensitive content. But I was able to then at the end of the session leave it at the session, you know. And I think what's amazing is you get given a program counselor who you work with, and they're your support network. So if you ever felt like, you know, things are a bit distressing, I don't know what to do, you leave it with them because they've got more experience than you. So, you know, you communicate with them about it. So there's many aspects of the RAISE program which is really advantageous to psych students, to be very honest, because it is very hard to find any type of volunteer work that gives you, as in, like I struggled to find some, as close as a one-on-one counseling experience, you know, working in a team of people, communicating with the program counselor, sharing ideas, debriefing. It is very hard, I found, to find anything else like that. And RAISE gives you a really, what I would say, close experience to the beginning stages of becoming a psychologist and a taste of what a psychologist would do. And of course, you find out, do you enjoy it? You know, wanting to become a psychologist, I never really considered working with adolescents. And then after RAISE, I was like, wait a second, this could be something I'm interested in. And, you know, maybe this year I'll do placement working with children. So, you know, I feel like it's broadened my career goals a little bit as well. Okay, so I also mentored with a program called Into Science Mentoring. This program is a collaboration between a lot of the universities here in Australia, and it's primarily designed to connect science graduates and students with high school students. Mostly these high school students are from rural parts of the country, and it's to encourage them to chase their STEM dreams and goals and realize that, like, they can go after whatever they want. And, you know, just giving them a little bit of insight about, you know, university, what is it like, and, you know, boosting their confidence. It sounds very specific, but I found that it then offered a completely different experience to the RAISE program. So for starters, the Into Science mentoring I did was completely online. Obviously with lockdowns, some sessions the student did it from home, other sessions the student did it from school. Whenever there was a session on their end, they always had an adult nearby who would just be, I guess, listening from afar just to monitor it. But I personally was not being supervised like I was with RAISE. With Into Science, it was a bit more flexible with like when you could do your sessions. You'd be given like, again, 40 minutes to an hour with your student. And it was very flexible in that you were completely in control of what that session looked like. So for example, I would plan out my sessions and I would make PowerPoint slides for them, and I would, you know, collaborate with the student to be like, okay, what is it that you want to hear about from me? What are you interested in? And then I would seek out information to explain to them, to cover everything they wanted to know. Whereas with RAISE, as I mentioned, it's all mentee led in that RAISE, you know, gives you a workbook. They've got very, very particular themes about, they're more well-being based. So like, we'll talk about help-seeking behaviors, emotions and whatnot. But RAISE, it is sort of more structured. And then with RAISE, you know, you do activities as a group, and like I said, people are always around. So, you know, they sometimes will be like, oh, so today we're going to focus on this. Whereas with Into Science, yeah, it was just like, here's a student, talk, see what they want to know, and, you know, cater to them and make the most of each session. And that was the thing that I learned from Into Science. It was about having a very limited amount of sessions with my mentee. So I think I had about 8 sessions with my mentee, or 10. What are you going to do in them? How are you going to make the most of it for them? And I thought that was very reflective of how in real life you get like 8 sessions through Medicare with a client, and you have to make the most of it for that client. So yeah, I thought that was a terrific experience. It was a little bit more independent, it was different, and yeah, I just think that combined, Into Science and RAISE really provided me with a way to mature as a psych student. So I mentored with the RAISE Foundation for 2 years, and I mentored with Into Science for 1 semester. So combined, you know, I had a pretty good amount of volunteer work behind me. I would encourage psych students to try and volunteer as early as possible, but obviously, you know, if you're only mentoring in your honors year or your 3rd year or whatnot, don't stress, because any little bit of volunteer work you do definitely counts. And it just gives you things to talk about in your master's interviews. You know, so when you're volunteering, look for little things that you think you could maybe relate to or use as an example when discussing psychology counseling concepts in a master's interview. Or so, you know, you can talk yourself up a little bit and be like, oh, you know, I've experienced in this, I've done this, so I think this and whatnot. It's going to be very, very helpful, and it's going to make you look very good and enthusiastic, and they'll respect it. Even though I didn't get into clinical psychology, I felt like the interviews went very smoothly for me because I did have things to talk about and I had experience to draw upon. So to me, that was a whole lot better than sitting there and being like, oh, I have no experience and I don't know. And the other thing about, you know, getting experience as a psych student is if you have ever done retail, do not discount it. Any job you have done where human interaction is involved, use it, talk it up, relate it to what you've done, because it is all related. It is all related. Yeah, don't discount any of that. And like, I've had lots of jobs. I've had jobs in different industries. So I was able to use that as well, because that means that I've mixed with diverse groups of individuals, and you know, you see where I'm going. So yeah, happy hunting with your volunteer work. I will put links down below to the Raise Foundation and Into Science mentoring. I hope you found this useful. Overall, when you're starting absolutely any volunteer work position, just remember that you're not supposed to turn up on day one as an experienced worker in that role. You are supposed to learn the role and become better at it. And as someone who volunteered with Raise 2 years in a row, I can tell you that in my second year, I was a whole lot more confident. I knew a lot more about how to handle different things than I was in my first year. And I became that person where I could see the, not errors, I won't call them errors, but I could see like the things that new mentors were worrying about that weren't important, or like, you know, I was then able to offer my own advice and give support. So you learn very quickly, and yeah, very quickly you go from like beginner to, you know, oh, well, I've been doing this and believe me, you're doing a great job, so don't worry about it, blah, blah, blah. Also, I want to add, never discredit the experience that you have and size it up against the experience other individuals have. I remember feeling very overwhelmed because a lot of the people I knew were doing behavioral support roles or doing NDIS support roles, because I was like, oh no, like NDIS. And yes, a lot of universities I think do value NDIS work, so maybe, you know, look into that and see if you can get into them. But then I was like, wait a second, no one I knew had been doing the mentoring roles, but that was like one-on-one direct experience, and same with Into Science, that was one-on-one direct experience of, you know, organizing sessions and talking one-on-one and working within a team and debriefing and this and that. So please, like, it's very easy to always, you know, become a little bit negative and competitive and think you're not doing enough. As long as your work is within the realm of psychology, you should 100% be fine. And I think, like, if you're lucky enough to be studying in a cohort that has like a group chat going on Facebook, just ask, just be like, oh, does anybody know of any good volunteer positions? Or, you know, try to strike up a conversation and be like, oh, what are you doing? So the goal isn't to be competitive, but it is just to find out like what's sort of trending in the world of volunteer work and what are other people doing. And it might give you an idea of roles that you can search for, because I know that some roles, they have different names and it can be hard to find them. And yeah, so I just want to like, just reinstate, never ever doubt or minimize the volunteer work that you've been doing, because again, for your master's interviews, you really want to be confident about and proud of the work that you've done, because if you minimize it or doubt it, like, I think that will come through. So yeah, don't do that, but definitely seek out from other people what they're doing, just to get ideas and to brainstorm where you could look for volunteer work or paid work too. You know, I keep using the word volunteer because that's what I did. But paid work experience is also highly loved by the institutions. I don't think like they all prioritize paid over volunteered. I think some do, if I'm completely honest, but you know, at the end of the day, you can't get caught up in all that. You can only do what you can do. Try to tick all the boxes, just focus on getting experience. The other thing too, the other reason getting experience is really important is a lot of master applications actually want a professional reference. This means somebody who has seen you work. My professional reference was my program counselor from Raise, and I was like, that's amazing. She's, you know, worked with me for 2 years. She's seen me in a psych counseling, you know, sort of setting, and I can only hope that, you know, that actually was good. But it was a huge relief to be like, I volunteered, I have a professional reference. I think other people use professional references from like retail jobs that they've done and whatnot, but which again, when you're picking a professional reference, I mean, that's a whole other video, but you obviously want to go with someone who really knows you. So I think that if you had been working, say, at Target for like 8 years, and then you had only volunteered for like 6 weeks, you would try and get your manager from Target to vouch for you. I'm pretty sure that's how that would work, because they do say, like, you know, get someone that knows you, because that's going to look better. But yeah, that's a whole other video. But at the end of the day, you do need to be prepared that you're going to get asked for a professional reference. And if you didn't work during high school, if you didn't work after high school or during uni, then you're going to be a little bit of like in a panicked state, and volunteering will alleviate that because you'll have someone to fall back on in terms of having a professional reference. So yeah, that is it from me today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, absolutely any questions, if I've like missed anything in this video, or you're like, wait, I kind of want to know more about this, just write it below and I will answer it. And I'll be making more videos about studying psychology. You know, I'll start talking about masters, because I'm about to begin masters myself, and I will find other aspects of the 3-year degree and honors to talk about, so that it's of help, you know, maybe study advice and whatnot. So yeah, subscribe, please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.